Hey Leos, welcome to Eight of Cups Tarot. I'm working on your reading for the month of January. And sitting in your energy, Leos, I feel triggered, extremely agitated. And I feel like there's a sense of being emotionally raw, but it's not like a place of like exhaustion or crying. There's a bit of numbing. There's a bit of coldness that I feel to it. So I want to go over your planets and piece this together, which I do see a couple of things that could definitely be contributing to that energy. So what you have to understand with this Pluto-Saturn conjunction is that it's setting the stage for the next 36 to 38 year cycle in our lives at Saturn and Pluto. And the last time there was a conjunction, it was 1982. And that it occurred in Libra, being your third house. So that sort of set the tone for how you communicate or how you use the skills that you have, how you operate in the world, how you operate in your communities. It gives you that ability to kind of, you could be a people pleaser, and you could make decisions in your life based on the need to please others or to be socially accepted, to feel like there is a belonging or that you would make a good partner. You know, this is your third house of communications and how you express yourself in the world. The first house is how people see you, and the second house is your money and your self-worth, and your third house is how you use the tools that were given to you by the universe. And in Libra, you being a Leo can be extremely charming. And so that phase gave you that strength through your charm, through your ability to communicate. But now we're moving into a different area. So the things you did to charm people or connect with people or gain, you know, I'm also taking a look at your 10th house with some of these aspects, to gain a reputation or to gain the notoriety that you have within your community. The way that you have always gone about it is no longer working. Saturn and Pluto are saying, you can't approach it that way anymore. And now it's moving over into a Capricorn theme. So it's less about being able to please people, and it's more about strategically building these communications and these positions that you have within, you know, it could even go as far as your family. I also want to touch base on the fact that you are at the very end of Mars in your fourth house, and that is probably why you're feeling so triggered. There is like this internal wound or things that are coming to the surface that maybe you even brought here from other lifetimes, or these can be ancestral wounds, maybe pains that you carried of oppression or thought processes that your entire family had. And really it is the opinion of the people in your family, the people closest to you. But also the fourth house is again another one of those houses where the deeper, and when Scorpio's involved, we're going to the deepest level. And the deepest level of the fourth house is our soul. It is what we were incarnated with. our inner being, our higher selves. And remember now that fourth house is the Cancer house, and the Cancer is now in your 12th house, and that is where your North Node is. So what happened as Mars started to go through and sweep through your fourth house, it made you face a lot of ancestral karma, or karma you had to deliver to others that were in your family, or that you're intimately involved with, or someone that you seek a foundation with. Fourth house, 12th house matters is an area where you want to pay real close attention to your mental health. And I say that also because you have Venus moving through Aquarius, which is your 7th house, and you have Mars, which is leaving your 4th house and moving into your Sagittarius house. And this could be the expression of fuck it all. I just don't give a shit anymore. I don't care who I please. I don't care who stays. I don't care who goes. It is a dangerous, reckless, and liberating sensation that you're chasing. And that's because you've been going through so much internal trauma and figuring out, and really, that shadow work being done. And if you have been able to face your shadow work, look at your demons, that's so important right now. It's just demanded of us that we face the things that we do in our subconscious, the patterns that we have, how we react. It addresses our fears and our faith. The 12th house is all about the shadow side. And again, I want to reiterate with that North Node in your 12th house, Leo, you can't see it. You can't see it until you get to the bottom of all the fogginess that you're carrying within you. So this, for Leos, I feel is a time to really get to know yourself. And there's a seeking out of really deep emotional connection, but there's also immense fear being triggered with that emotional connection to others. And you have Aries in Chiron in the 9th house. So you are also having to choose Chiron in Aries. There's a duality of, are you going to chase after healing your wounds by causing wounds on others? Or are you actually going to take action in healing your wounds and being able to reestablish your connections with others? 9th house has a lot to do with your inner beliefs. And, the rules of that universe will always apply there, that what you're willing to do within will start to really show on the outside. And on the outside, you have Uranus in Taurus opposing your 4th house. And this is especially potent for anybody in the generation of their natal chart where they have their natal Uranus in Scorpio, because again, that's a double whammy of a Uranus opposition. And being in your 10th and 4th house, what you have to be able to see there is that you're shaking up the internal structures in you, and then you're bringing them to the surface. You're going to show this new person, this new side of you, and you're willing to present it to the world. But Uranus in Taurus is slow moving, and for you, this energy is a lot like the butterfly in the cocoon. There's phases, waves, sort of like contractions of growth, of going within, retreating, and then going without and expressing, and kind of letting yourself do this dance, right? Because here's where it gets a little crazy, is you have Neptune in your 8th house. And Neptune in your 8th house can make you either extremely unclear of who your partners are at an intimate level, or it could give you the need for that. So if you're having relationships that are sort of ground level, convenient, maybe based on material connections and collaborations, but there's no real emotion, and Leo, for you, you need passion. And if you're not getting it in those areas, I think you're beginning, Neptune at its halfway point, to realize you require them. And that's going to involve the unfolding of that story into how you go about obtaining those deeper connections, intimacy, and trust. And when you have Pisces in your 8th house, you become very sharing. You kind of allow your levels of intimacy to be obtained from other people. And this is a change in this, because now you have to bring it to the table in some way. You can't just accept or take what other people give you. You actually have to provide. And this is where we get into the channeling messages that I was receiving, because they showed me a young boy on a teeter-totter. And I have been shown this image multiple times lately, not really understanding where this was coming from. And so this is exciting for me. So there's a little boy on a teeter-totter in a very small park, and it's a fall day, and the leaves are actually all over the ground and not really on the trees, and it doesn't feel like a thriving environment. It feels cold. He feels cold. I see this little boy with pants that are too short and a jacket that doesn't fit very well, and he's crying as he's sitting on this teeter-totter, and he's crying because he's alone. And there's the inability to move without the connection, right? On the teeter-totter, like you can't do it by yourself. You're just going to sit down here until someone, first of all, causes you to level out. Okay? So raise your vibration to theirs, and then they can climb on, and then you two can kind of start this dance of collaboration and partnership. But you can't do that until A, the person shows up, and B, you level it out. Very important message that Spirit wants me to show to you. But then so the little boy cries for a little bit, and then I see someone walking down the street, and this little boy bravely and stoically stands up, wipes his eyes, and waves to the person and pretends like everything's fine. So Leo, I think that some of you, and it doesn't have to be all again, I want to reiterate that these videos, I'm reading energy, this could be vice versa, this could be something that's playing out in a relationship, Leo. It could be your partner that's having these issues, any kind of, this could be any way that it plays out in your life or people around you. But it really is the silent stoicism that you've been living with your entire life. I feel like this person, it has been their entire life cycle from childhood on where they felt isolated and alone. And so there's a mask that you wear for the outside world. And yet you feel so lonely because nobody knows who you truly are. And then, Leo, they also showed me with this conjunction in your 6th house, maybe a lot of people would deem that a pretty easy house for this transit, right? Like your whole life's not falling apart. You're not losing a home or losing, we're going through major transitions. And if you have to do a transition through the way that I approach my everyday routines, I guess that's an okay area to live with, right? But it's not, because the 6th house is a lot bigger than that. And the 6th house is connected to the 12th house. And so, again, you're bringing in a theme of something needs to end in order to move on, in order to gain the connection with others, in order to gain that intimacy, in order to gain the courage to be yourself and to share yourself with someone. You have to get through that 6th house, and that 6th house harbors how others have been tricking you, or how others' opinions have been holding you back. And so not only are you in an area of dealing with your subconscious and these karmic ideas on value and self-worth and how we approach life, or how things get processed, and how we handle fear, but it brings into the very real form of how we allow people's opinions to cause us to sell ourselves short. Okay, and so the 6th house, this also can rule having to face some serious mental issues, including and quite clearly addictions. Medications, again, the Neptune in the 8th house, the North Node in your 12th, that movement of Mars through your 4th, you may have done so much shadow work, and yet it's just having to have the courage to take that first step to say, I relinquish this habit because I know it's killing me. I relinquish this way of loving because I know that there's a part of my soul or a part of my heart that's dead inside. And Leos, you could be the star of the show and you could light up a room like no other. But when a Leo is dead inside, when his heart is hardened, when he does not approach things from love and compassion and abundance, he becomes a shell of a human. He takes a step back into a Cancer area that is watery and feels protective, the need to protect themselves, the inability to move out of the shell, which is detrimental to the Leo. So it's so important now to face these areas of your life where you are having addiction problems. Or this could also be areas of your medication. Maybe you're taking medication, for your mental health. But that medication may actually be doing more damage than it is benefiting you. Or maybe there's been changes there and those changes need to be addressed. And what's going to happen is you're going to start, it's going to go from gentle nudges from the universe, like, hey, come on, you got to stop that, to real, concrete, 3D, realistic losses in your life. And I think that at some point you're going to have to start counting those losses and keeping track and reflecting on them so that you could ultimately change that behavior. Okay, 20 minutes in and I have not touched a single card. Leos, Leos, Leos. Meditate. Even if you don't know what you're doing, just, throw on a meditation video on YouTube. Just start somewhere, right? Take the first step. That's really important. Because you're going to start feeling a little more peaceful. and a little more vibrant, which, you know, is the area that Leos absolutely have to operate out of being vibrant, of being the center of attention, of accepting the role of leadership. Okay, Leo, let's see how this month is going to play out for you. I'm going to pull 3 cards for the first week. That second week for everybody. Ooh, when that eclipse comes in, everybody should just hold on to their hats, honestly. Cards for the third week, please. Oh, Leo. There's so much stuck energy. Okay, here we go. 4th week. Feel an upswing. There could be an upswing here, Leo. Could be a recovery. Cards, please. Okay. Okay. All right, Leo. The 4th week, there's a nice recovery. I just want you to know that the first and most important message with these cards, when I started to say that was 23, 23, 5, 5. You could stay in this energy for as long as you want. You could do this for the rest of your life. Just know the results will never, ever, ever be different. If you continue to go about things at a very shallow level and you don't start getting into the deep, if you don't let go of this fear of connection and intimacy that you have, this fear that maybe a level of loneliness is bringing you, if you don't tap in and make the changes, you're going to spend your whole life like that. And these changes are not easy, but ultimately the most rewarding thing that you'll do in your lifetime. So, you know, time is of the essence here. And this cycle of eclipses is bringing you to a point of no return. Okay. That's how critical this energy is. So, right away, I'm sensing a couple different things here. I feel like you're given an opportunity in week 1 to drop your swords, drop your defenses, stop fighting with people, stop drawing boundaries. I've been trying to preach boundaries to every other sign here, and yet, Leo, I am begging you to drop your boundaries, to allow people really in. Speak up. Because with that energy, with that opportunity to do that, if you do that, you'll be met with deep compassion, with real love, with internal nurturing, self-nurturing, and being truly nurtured by a person or a partner that is capable of it. They are capable of giving you the kind of love you need if you would just allow yourself to admit you need it. But I don't think that you do. I don't think in week 1 you're allowing to make that transition. I think that you're going to stick to your guns, and instead of dropping the swords, I feel like you're going to keep defending yourself, and you're going to keep hiding. So, rolling into week 2 and the eclipse, you have yourself a Tower. Leo, here's the thing. You're pissed off because you're not getting the recognition or the reward or the attention from someone who would typically easily give you this attention. Somebody who is maybe constantly stroking your ego. Somebody who's always available to make you feel better or to soothe you. Again, to stroke your ego. And this person won't cooperate anymore. And you're starting to maybe even go through your text messages, maybe even trying to dig a few skeletons out of the closet, see if they'll bite, see if they'll feed your ego a little. But it's just not happening. And it's because you're coming from such a place of desperation. Desperation for the need for ego fulfillment as opposed to internal fulfillment. And that's the moon. Quite literally, take a look. This is so crazy. Okay, so when you look at the moon, this is kind of symbolizing the two wolves, right? The shadow side and the light side of yourself. And the moon is where you obtain your nourishment, how you grow yourself and your soul and your life through the moon, through illumination. And so the idea here is, which one are you going to feed more? Is it your shadow side or is it your light side? Are you going to continue to feed your ego or are you going to start feeding your soul? And you see how symbolic that this lobster or whatever disgusting creature is kind of coming out of the depths of the water. And this reminds me of that Neptune in Pisces in your 8th, and that Mars going through your 4th house in Scorpio. Like, you know, the shadow side is starting to bring up some real old traumas. And unfortunately, Leo, it looks like a good portion of you are refusing to look at those. You're refusing, and you're feeding your shadow side. Okay? And that is when the universe steps in. And the universe could step in some really harsh ways if you're not careful. I mean, if you are really hard to reach, then the universe has no choice but to yank you, but to push you, but to throw you into some kind of chaos in which you have to change everything. Everything. Your very foundation of self must be reviewed and rebuilt. And I have a feeling that this is going to be a real death. You resist transformation, okay? And so this is a real death of the ego here. And unfortunately, again, even going into the third week, the story I'm seeing here is that even as the universe is coming along and showing you in every which way, every way that you have to change the basic foundation in which you live your life, you're just not ready to get off that karmic wheel yet. Not quite rock bottom yet. And so this was actually another message that I got in my meditative session. The shadow work that you're doing, by working in your shadow, you're either working to resolve the shadow side or you are growing your shadow side. And so Spirit had said to me, shadow work can either turn into empowerment or emptiness. And that is the alchemy of life. Do we take the losses and turn them into a win, turn them into an opportunity for growth, or do we continue to let this kind of harness this karmic cycle of victimhood and resentment and, you know, I didn't have a chance, my life was, we could have been so different, and so here, I don't know why that's getting so dark, there we go. Here you do not, it doesn't look like you're willing to turn that alchemy into empowerment and self-help. It's further spiraling downward. And what did I just say? It will either lead you to empowerment or emptiness. And you can't get emptier than a King of Cups in reverse. This is a hardening of the emotions. This is lacking empathy. This is choosing to no longer even be a part of your emotions. And that's a sad place. That's a really sad place. But look, in the fourth week, there's enlightenment, which is a good sign. This is finally something reaching you. There's a breakthrough of some sort early in the fourth week of January. And this could happen around the Aquarius new moon, I'm feeling like, which could be very powerful. I do believe that's around January 24th. So some kind of a breakthrough or a realization. This could be in any form, and oh my gosh, they're telling me a dream. So Leo, quite honestly, your whole life could fall apart. The universe could strip things away from you and you're still stagnant. But the message I'm getting from Spirit is that something prompts you to go within, some kind of a dream or maybe even a psychic occurrence that happens that gives you this enlightenment. And look what happens. You take that idea, right, and you manifest it. You start to turn it into something solid, something that you can hold in your hands. This is the very beginning of something that is steady and reliable and dependable. It's something manifested into the 3D world. And even better, once you start this, you take this step and you're holding on to this opportunity for growth. And then you begin to grow those pentacles in ways that you can share with others. And you begin to operate from a place where, because you have allowed yourself to be emotionally fulfilled, then you can give that to others. You can share the rewards to that. And that's a lot of progress. So Leo, I think out of all of my signs, and no one would know it because there's very little, well, I shouldn't say there's very little going on in fire, because Mars moving into Sag and Chiron and Aries, we do have fire in our charts. We are truly responding to that passion, and that's great, but it has to be with that emotional link as well. And I think that's what you're learning. And I really think that January and through this eclipse and the eclipse process from the Capricorn solar eclipse to the Cancer lunar eclipse, which will bring an ending, a very sudden and abrupt ending in a place for you. And then that will break you down further up into that new moon in Aquarius that sets this light off in this this light bulb moment for you, where you know exactly what to do and you know how to save yourself. Leos, you're very dramatic. You like to wait till last minute, but then you're gonna get it in there, right? That's very Leo of you. I want to pull a couple of astrology cards for you. I know we're close to 40 minutes, but I really... Yeah. What do I say about that communication? Oh, I'm so glad I pulled these for you, Leo. It's definitely trying to come out. Leo, 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 Leo. Leo, remember I said at the beginning of this, I explained that when Pluto and Saturn meet, they're actually ending that cycle of Pluto and Saturn in Libra, and they're beginning it in Capricorn. And so in Libra, that was in your third house. Again, that was how you used your gifts, how you used your talents, how you used your energy with the people around you. And I think for some of you, there is a very clear message that the way that you communicated, or the way that you... Spirit is telling me the way that you portrayed yourself was dishonest. They're saying dishonest even to yourself. And that's because the way that you communicated and connected with people was through a place of fear. And that's what Black Moon Lilith is. It's where we have our deepest scars, where we feel the most hurt and the most vulnerable. And so instead of filling that place up with love and forgiveness, we fill that place up with revenge and anger and really unhealthy, toxic ways to escape wounds that occurred throughout a communication process. And this could represent even just a fight where maybe your ego was really hurt and you said things that you know you can never take back. Things that hurt people in ways that you never ever meant to hurt them, and the pain that you instilled upon that person or that connection, it came out of the pain you feel inside. Black Moon Lilith is, it is our shadow, and it's how we protect ourselves. It's how we protect our ego. It's that need to seek revenge and to make others suffer because we're suffering in some way. But you have the Aquarius card, so it would seem to me that eventually throughout the process of these eclipses, you are going to start to understand. You are going to start taking a look at those places and why you do the things you do, facing up to the fact that you maybe do sabotage situations because you are afraid of them working out, because you are afraid to connections to others. You are afraid to depend on other people. You're afraid for anything to go anything farther than surface level with you. You're afraid to let others even know you on that level because there's so many scars and wounds and feeling of inadequacy in that area. Oh, Leo, I think this month is going to be ultimately so healing, but probably very painful. And Leo, please know that little boy on that teeter-totter, he wasn't alone. And that we are never alone. Keeping these upright. And then even in times when we do have to withdraw and detox from life and people, there you go. It is important to know that you are not alone, ever. That you have amazing support and angels surrounding you, and in any given moment you could choose to bring this cycle to an end and ask for help, and you will receive so much love. Again, that Libra in your third house, if you would allow yourself to speak your truth and to be who you are, you would be received with so much adoration. And it wouldn't be because of the way you look or the shallow things or your material positions. It would be because you have spoken your truth and someone feels that vibration and then they gravitate towards it. And that's how you start to find your people, your tribe, your real family, your connections. Just by letting people know who you are. So this kind of came flying out. You got the stingray. And I just love the stingray because within this simple, weird animal, and honestly, this is my favorite sea creature. Look at, he has all his chakras lit up. All of them. So, my Leos, the same theme for your cards and your meditative session is being brought into your animal card. This is the energy that Spirit wants you to harness through this period of January. They really desperately want you to understand and work with the energy of the stingray. And also, sometimes I find that the stingray has a special meaning to us in some way. So if you're connecting just with a stingray, maybe it's an animal totem, you're drawn to them, or you're having dreams about them, you know, then that's another confirmation that this reading is specifically for you. The stingray, developing confidence, sense of self, or spine. The stingray card represents a pivotal point in personal growth. The moment has come when the stingray must decide between the old, easy, comfortable and familiar, and the new, challenging, uncomfortable, and unfamiliar. Pressure from family and friends makes the decision even more complicated. No matter what choice is made now, it's inevitable that this dilemma will surface again and again as the force of Dharma growing within the stingray is too strong to ignore. When in balance, you are eager and you want to grow. But when out of balance, you blame others and you quit. And to bring into balance, move through the discomfort. Leo, speak your truths. Say what's in your heart. I've never known a Leo to not be welcome with kindness and compassion when they speak from their hearts. Leos, I'm wishing you so much love in January. Hugs and love and strength. Because although it could be a dark month for you, by summer, I think you're going to have this figured out. And I think you're going to be back to your vibrant selves. Love you, Leos.